He is making his appearance on television for the first time. Sanjeev Bhatt, controversial IPS officer, the man who's taking on Narendra Modi, described as the David in this David-Goliath fight, is joining me from Ahmedabad, and he's accompanied by his lawyer Iqbal Singh. I'm joined by Meenakshi Lekhi, senior lawyer from Delhi, and also by Yatin Oza, president of the Gujarat Bar Council, and lawyer for Amit Shah, top BJP leader. Ladies and gentlemen, as I begin the debate, I have a sincere request. I know that this subject is volatile. I'd request everyone to let the other side have their say. I'd like to first ask Mr. Sanjeev Bhatt. Mr. Bhatt, why have you chosen to speak out now? And how do you link your suspension to political vendetta when your DGP says that it is simply a case of managing discipline within the police force?
I don't know. I'm not attributing any motives to my suspension. I'm just taking it in my stride. I have been doing what I was required to do, and maybe the DGP and the government is doing what they are required to do. I do not want to attribute any motives to anyone.
You're being very careful. Do you feel it is a consequence of your... Do you feel it is a consequence of your taking on Narendra Modi?
That is for the courts of this country to decide. That is for the people of this nation to decide. I have been doing my duty. I was called upon by an agency appointed by the Honorable Supreme Court to come out with the truth, to bring out the evidence on record. And that is exactly what I did, as in when I was called upon to do so. And if, as a matter of consequence, the government has to take some action in retribution, which is their want, they are entitled to do it. So I am not anyone to attribute motives, but it is for all of you to decide as to what is happening and why. Why now?
You're being very careful. You're under strong legal advice, it appears to me. Sanjeev, I think your lawyer who's sitting next to you, Mr. Iqbal Singh, has advised you very strongly today, because you're being extremely careful, much more careful than you were when you were speaking to me a little while later in the evening. Mr. Iqbal Singh, are you holding your client back? Are you holding your client back tonight?
No, I would slightly differ with my client. In fact, the time is the essence. The timing of the order of suspension is just only after the Supreme Court issued the notice in the petition which is filed by Mr. Sanjeev Bhatt. I believe that this is a counterblast of of the petition which is filed by Mr. Sanjeev Bhatt.
Okay, Mr. Iqbal Said, now I'll open up to those on the other side. And my first question is to Mr. Yatin Oza. Mr. Yatin Oza, doesn't the decision to suspend the police officer who's on the show tonight reek of political vendetta? Isn't it obvious that it reeks of pure political vendetta?
Look, Arnab, there is no question of vendetta. The wiser counsel prevailed in the mind of Mr. Bhatt only after he was transferred as Principal Training College at Junagadh. Till then, everything was fine. The posting which he did not like angered him to fire the salvo against the government. Let me tell you, Arnab, one thing. Mr. Bhatt may revert back his memories 10-15 years back. I have fought that case. It was Jaswant Singh Rawal Rawat. I forget the surname. Wherein Mr. Sanjeev Bhatt himself has filed an affidavit as District Superintendent of Police Banaskantha, justifying the order of suspension passed by him, where a constable had remained out of job, or rather he had remained on unauthorized leave for 150 days, and Mr. Bhatt himself has stated on oath before the High Court that in a disciplined force, to remain absent from duty unauthorizedly for 150 days is a serious misconduct which would entail the extreme penalty as envisaged under Article 311, namely removal, dismissal or compulsory retirement from service. This is Mr. Bhatt's own affidavit. Now if we go by the order of suspension, it's not only 10 months and more absenteeism, It is something else. False creation
So
of
you are
record,
saying
though he was in Ahmedabad.
this is nothing. You expect us to
created a
believe.
record that
You
he is
expect
at
us to
Janata.
believe. You expect us to believe, Mr. Rosa, that this has nothing to do.
Yes, yes.
Nothing to do with the fact that the person who is on the screen has filed an affidavit in which he says that on the 27th of February 2002 he was present at a meeting in which the Chief Minister gave indirect instructions to his officers to go slow and allow the rioting to continue. You are telling us today that this has nothing to do with that.
Mr. Bhatt is,
That's circumstantial.
why my friend Mr. Bhatt? Why Mr. Bhatt is saying all this after his transfer to Junagadh, not before that?
Okay, I want him to answer that. I want him to answer that directly. No, 1 second. I asked you that earlier, Sanjeev. Why were you silent between 2002 and 2009?
Yes. Arnab, I would like to help and jog the memory
2011
of my
Arnab,
dear
Let him reply, sir.
We go
not
back a long way.
2009.
2009 he submitted. 1 minute, sir.
Yes.
2009 he submitted. 2011 he was called upon to make his statement, and hence I hold 2009 as the date, sir. I hope that clarification works.
Right.
Yes, sir.
But he did not do it. He did not do.
Sir, your point is taken. Let him reply.
I think let me try and help the jog of memory of my dear friend Mr. Yatinoza. As usual, his memory seems to be failing him. First of all, I was the Joint Director General of Civil Defence till October 2010, whereas I deposed before the Supreme Court appointed SIT in the month of November 2009. That is 1 year before I was transferred out. This has nothing to do with my transfer. So Mr. Ozami, please check his facts as usual. Number two, the case which he was referring to about some Jaswant Singh, again that as usual seems to be a fabric of his imagination. I have a very good memory. It never fails me. And there was no such case in which I have taken such a stand in Banaskantha. Anyway, and that is not even pertinent to the issue. Yeah, please.
No, my question here is, and now I want to draw in.
It is absolutely, Arnab, it's absolutely pertinent to the issue. And Mr. Bhatt has sworn an affidavit. I reiterate that he has sworn an affidavit saying that in a uniform force, unauthorized leave has to be dealt with seriously.
Sir, this is a question. This is slightly more.
And one more thing, Arnab. Yes. One more thing, Arnab. Absenteeism is not the only charge. I am very sure you must be having a copy of the order of suspension. It has more than one charge.
Sir,
30 employees have been
1 minute, Mr. Oza.
30 employees
Mr. Oza, why hide behind technicalities? Sir, why hide behind technicalities? You know, and Mr. Bhatt knows, and our viewer knows the context in which this whole decision is being taken. Isn't this an obvious crackdown on a whistleblower? Let me draw Meenakshi Lekhi in. What purpose will it serve when you ask? There may be other policemen in other cases. I'll come to you who want to reveal the truth. Won't this serve as a deterrent?
In the afternoon also.
Arnab, can I
just
speak?
2 minutes.
One at a time.
In the afternoon also, I had said to your channel. In the afternoon also, in my interview to your channel, I had said that Sanjeev Bhatt's affidavit before the Supreme Court.
So
State government stand before the Supreme Court would be decided by Honorable the Supreme Court according to law.
So
that has nothing to do with his not reporting for duty. This is like this, that since I have filed my petition, petition against the state government.
So this is
like this, that I have filed my petition against the state government, and therefore despite my misconduct, my not reporting for duty, despite reminders after reminders from DGP, and then to justify that because
I have a few questions to Sanjeev
because I have done this, because I have done that, my misconduct should be washed out.
Okay, now I want to get Meenakshi in. Meenakshi, yes, please. Your point to Sanjeev. Is he a victim today of political vendetta?
No, I am saying it has got nothing to do with political vendetta. Two things one has to understand. If one is in a job, the job needs to be done in terms of the job, and conduct has to be in terms of the law laid down by the conduct rules. Under the conduct rules, you can't be absent, and you can't be absent for a long period of time without grant of leave. In this case, the leave was granted. First he asked for 18 days leave, which was granted. Thereafter he again did not report and asked for another set of leaves. Again, no medical, nothing, and the medical record which was brought, he said mother has suffered a cataract and has undergone operation. For a cataract today, you only take 2 days or 3 days to recover in the worst of circumstances. Now that was not a good enough excuse for him to be absent. One.
No, you are going on the absence. No, 1 minute, 1 minute. Meenakshi, Meenakshi, 1 minute. You are going on an.
Arnab, I will.
Let me ask you one thing, Meenakshi. I'm asking you something. Let me ask you a simple question, Meenakshi.
Let me complete. Yes.
One question I have for you, Meenakshi. Come on, I am asking you today, and I am asking Mr. Yatinoza as well, but I am asking you right now. Come on, let's accept what is the context. Here is the context, Meenakshi, and you both as a lawyer, and a senior BJP leader, you would understand the context is this. Here is a man.
No, context is very clear. If you work for a channel and you do not report for time and the show has to go on, the show will go on. And they will probably, it's a private job, they will probably terminate you right there and then. It's a government job, so they have only suspended him and they have led an inquiry. In that inquiry also the gentleman refuses to participate. There are certain rules under the administrative law. Law of the land cannot be one for Mr. Bhatt and other for other people. That is not the case. Let's not mix up two different issues. His affidavit before the Supreme Court is a separate story. Parallelly, another story is going on where he is not reporting for his job for past 10 months. Can that be overlooked because he
Certainly it cannot. Certainly it cannot. But with the same stridency.
That answers my question.
With the same stridency. With the same stridency, it cannot be overlooked, can it? And let me draw in Dr. Ajay Kumar, who's been a former IPS officer and a member of parliament. Dr. Kumar, let me ask you, the question is also with the same stridency, it must be asked, who is the mole in the SIT? Why are SIT papers being leaked to people in the Gujarat government? Is this man being victimized because he's raising the entire question? He has faced FIRs, he has charges of hacking put against him. His testimony stands between a man and his national ambitions. That's the political context to this. Now let me draw in Dr. Ajay Kumar. Your response to Meenakshi Lekhi, that this is a pure case of indiscipline of an officer, nothing political.
Arnab, it's interesting that my colleagues on the panel are saying that it's not a vendetta, because if you look at the history of what Sanjeev is going through, he had a writer constable who filed an affidavit against the government, then they coerced him to file an FIR saying that it was under coercion. The second part was then there was a case filed against him under the IT Act, and now this suspension. If Sanjeev Bhatt is the only guy in the Gujarat civil services, whether it's in the IPS or the IAS, who is requesting for leave, and you have the government as the prerogative to extend the leave. I mean, if you deny a man a leave, then obviously he's going to be, you're going to take a stand that he's not, he's illegally absent. But the fact is that he's been applying, and whatever be the reason. And the basic integrity to say that, look, here is a guy who's speaking against the government, and you'd go hammer and tongs after him, try to demoralize him. It raises a simple logic question. You see that how can you hear independent voices in the civil services or in the police? And whenever you have anybody speaking against the situation which is not conducive to the powers that be, then you find every method to muzzle them. And that's a simple example. You get the writer constable to file a FIR in the police station. You file an IT Act case under the IT Act. And then you trump up a charge of, and suspend him on cases of absentation. And the question is he the only guy in the Gujarat government who is absent? First question. Or was he the first guy, only guy they wanted to go after? It will be interesting to find out that are there any other senior civil servants who have been absent or who have shown dereliction of duty? And is this the only guy? And the rest of the Gujarat bureaucracy is very, very.
And I have a more fundamental question.
Sober, etc., etc.
No, I have a more fundamental question, Meenakshi.
I would expect them to have the integrity to say that.
Yes, please.
No, I have a more fundamental question. The fundamental question is this. Let me draw in Kamini Jaiswal, then I come straight back to you. And I want to tell our viewers, Sanjeev Bhatt and his lawyer are going to come back in a few minutes. Now, here's the fundamental question. Fundamental question is this. You say that this man has been on unauthorized leave. And hence, you wake up one fine morning. 1 minute, Mr. Rosa. You discover, Mr. Rosa. Look at this. Look at the wonderful situation we are in. You discover after 125 days, on the 126th day, which happens to be 2 days after you file a case, FIR against him for allegedly hacking, you don't investigate whether your government officers and your ministers and your government got access illegally, illegitimately to files they should not have had access to. You file a case and an FIR against the person who is carrying out the expose, disregarding the truth that he is trying to expose, and you follow it up by discovering that, by the way, he's been on leave, so let's also suspend him. I mean, this is pure and out circumstantial vendetta. There is no other way you can look at this.
Let me tell you, let me give you certain dates.
Now, how have you discovered? Why has he been suspended today and not 1 week back?
Can I give you certain dates?
Why has he been suspended today and not 1 week back?
No. He could have been suspended a week.
So why wasn't he? No, why wasn't he? Why wasn't he?
There can be coincidence.
What's the coincidence? You file a case of hacking against him day before yesterday.
Allow me to complete.
Allow
me to complete.
Explain the coincidence.
Can I enter the debate? It cannot be one-way debate. Now listen to this. The administrative law has a procedure laid down under the law. He has been given notices not once but 5 times. He has refused to answer those notices. There is a proper inquiry which has been set up by a superior officer. He, being a law enforcer, understands the role very well. He has taken 30 constables from his place who are under trainees, who don't even ask.
Yes, that's important. That's very important.
And he has taken them along with the vehicles. And he can go on indulging in misconduct one after the other, and you are saying government has no recourse to it, to an erring delinquent officer. An erring delinquent officer,
that officer
needs to be dealt with.
Okay, now let me go.
And one more thing, Arnav. One minute.
1 minute.
Who is pretending to be correct has to be correct even in the way he conducts himself. This man is incorrect and incorrigible.
I have a simple question. I have a simple question. I have a simple question. I have a very, very simple question. If this man is totally incorrigible, why have you on the 126th day decided he's incorrigible, which happens to be 48 hours after you file a case against him, when he exposed the fact that your government officers had access to SIT papers? I want to join Kamini Jaiswal, please.
Formalities need to be undertaken.
I want to join Kamini Jaiswal now. Kamini Jaiswal, how are you viewing this?
Preliminary inquiry has to be held. Preliminary inquiry has to be held.
Sure.
Preliminary inquiry is held.
So,
of course,
after the preliminary inquiry,
I am coming back. I'm coming back, Mr. Rosa. Mr. Rosa, I'll give balanced time on both sides. I just want to get Kamini Jaiswal's views. How are you viewing this?
Yeah.
Ms. Jaiswal.
Yeah, this cacophony I don't understand.
Do respond.
The thing is that this man is trying to bring out the truth, and of course when he put his head on the anvil like this, he knew what was there in it for him. But why the Gujarat government has taken no action against those senior police officers who have been indicted by a magisterial inquiry for having killed innocent people, and they want to take this kind of an action against a person who is trying to bring out the truth, and just few days after he files this affidavit and he exposes their collusion with I'm really appalled at the SIT, in whom all this confidence has been reposed by the Supreme Court. They were working as the SIT of the Supreme Court, and what they have done, I think they should hang their heads in shame.
Now, can I ask a question here? And this question goes out to you and to Ajay. Should we disregard the fact that the same officer who you are entrusting so much faith in has been in active touch with Congress leaders? He has requested Congress leaders to give him BlackBerry phones so that he can be in touch with them on a secure line. That he has been in conversation with them on emails where he tells them, I am awaiting both your packages and the BlackBerry, that he has taken material gifts from Congress leaders. Is the angle of political motive, Ajay, that question is to you and Kamini, is the angle of political motive of no relevance?
Arnab, if you can permit me 1 minute. Arnab,
let him respond.
Permit me half a minute.
Okay.
If you can permit me half a minute.
Okay, go on.
Emails have further shown Sanjeev talking to several activists, including Tista Setalwad and many more, as to how the pressure can be put on honorable the judges of the Supreme Court.
He's not saying I did.
How the pressure can be put on MI.
He's accepting I did. He's saying yes I did. No, he's saying yes I did. He's not saying I didn't. Is that a crime?
He justified in saying how to put pressure on the honorable judges? How to put pressure on amicus curiae?
His motivation, which needs to be checked.
Okay, motivations of Sanjeev Bhatt. Motivations of Sanjeev Bhatt.
Another thing, Arnab, I want to bring to your notice.
He goes to the extent of conversation with Congress leaders and social activists, so-called social activists, that how do we put pressure on the judges of the Supreme Court?
1993 there is a criminal case, 1996 there is a criminal case.
Which has no relevance to this case.
Beyond the call of duty.
No, but which has no relevance to this case.
Has been involved in criminal cases.
No, which has no relevance to this case.
I am saying when you, of course this is not.
No, Kamini Jaiswal.
Exactly my point. What is relevant to this case is he has been suspended for absenteeism.
Okay.
That's all which is relevant. Nothing else is relevant.
Now you see, you have discovered all the ills of this man. You have discovered all the ills of this man now. Yes, Ajay is first respond. Ajay, 1 minute, Mr. Rosa, let Ajay respond. Ajay is responding.
It's the height of hypocrisy to say that Mr. Modi's government is not going after Sanjeev because of whistleblowing. I mean, at least have the dignity to accept the truth and, and confront it. I mean, then you find out different perverted ways to suppress voices. And then Ms. Lekhi is saying that, this is a simple case of suspension, it's indiscipline. It's got nothing to be related to his whistleblowing activity. I mean, the basic integrity, everybody, if you ask anybody on the road, if you ask anybody in the street, is it an issue of political vendetta? It is an issue of political vendetta. Have the courtesy or the dignity not to insult the intelligence and say that you're going after him because he's speaking against the government. It's a simple thing, but at least respect the intelligence on that. You don't do it for every other officer. You don't file an FIR against, get the writer constable who worked under you to file an FIR against him. You don't file an IT Act and say that he violated the IT Act when the email copies of the SIT was with the
1 minute, let him complete. Let him complete, Meenakshi.
Then you go and suspend him when he's repeatedly informed you. So, I mean, have the courtesy not to insult the intelligence of the nation or all the people who are watching this show. You're doing it fine and have the, the dignity to say that.
Okay, now
this is the way you muzzle, voices of dissent, and it's irrespective to the discussion, Arnab, whether it is,
I must go to Ms. Jaiswal.
Bring out a conscious voice in the system.
I must, Mr. Rosa and Meenakshi, I must go to Ms. Jaiswal. Mr. Rosa and Meenakshi, I want Ms. Jaiswal to respond to the first charge that this man's credibility is suspect. This man's credibility is suspect is the charge that is being made by the other side.
Listen,
yes, Ms. Jaiswal.
I am not here. Listen, I am not here to give anybody a certificate. It is, the saying goes, set a thief to catch a thief. So I don't care what his credibility is, but see what is going on, see the kind of emails he has produced. And supposing he was in, he was in communication with the Congress party to give him a BlackBerry because he felt that his other phones were tapped. And he did not have the wherewithal to get a BlackBerry. BlackBerry, there are certain applications which would not be, it would not be recorded. So therefore, if he was doing it for his own security or for the purpose of keeping his messages secret, there is nothing wrong with it. But I am not giving anybody a certificate. Maybe his credibility is suspect, but I don't care about
oversimplification of the thing.
I am concerned with the credibility of the SIT which is set up by Supreme Court.
1 minute. I'm getting a response on this.
You take a BlackBerry from a political leader and then justify it by saying.
If Mr. Bhatt has asked for a BlackBerry, it's interesting in times of today's modern times if a police officer requests for a BlackBerry. It's also a reflection of whether he has the resources to buy a BlackBerry or get a BlackBerry. I think it's a reflection that, he's...
No. One sec. Here's the question.
I don't think it's such a challenge to buy a BlackBerry if you're dishonest.
Okay. Yes, Meenakshi, please.
What I was saying is that when he talks about package, what package is he talking about? Taking BlackBerry from a government official taking a BlackBerry from a private person amounts to bribery, which definitely amounts to unbecoming of a civil servant.
I have a question for you, Meenakshi.
And amounts to corruption.
Meenakshi, I have a simple question for you. You and Mr. Oza are so incensed that this man took a BlackBerry. Now, my question to you, 1 minute, no, you are incensed.
When we are mixing...
You are incensed about it. You don't have to say you're not, you are incensed about it. Now, my question to you is, please, will you tell me?
We are not incensed, Prana.
Sir, will you tell me, sir, that why are you not
incensed.
Why are you not telling the SIT chief, Mr. R.K. Raghavan, to reveal who the mole in the SIT was who was passing on facts and details of the SIT inquiry illegally to the officers of the Gujarat government? Why are you not raising that issue? Is that not a graver issue? You don't seem to have referred to it even once, and that is the principal issue. That is the principal issue on which Sanjeev Bhatt has gone to court.
That is a ghost.
Sanjeev Bhatt has gone to court because Sanjeev Bhatt has been politically connected ever since his job.
He has gone to court on the leakage.
No, listen to me, Arnab, let me complete. There are 3 criminal cases where people have died. There is a 302 matter pending against him.
How is that relevant to this?
There is a case. No, if that is not relevant, how is SIT relevant to this?
SIT is in the Godhra case.
Don't mix issues.
It is the
passive.
I'm not mixing issues.
The guy has been absent from his job. The person is absent from his job. With all this, he could have done all this while being on his job.
Who decides?
Why was he sitting in? Everyone. If you are a civil servant, if you are a civil servant, or you are an employee of a government, or you are an employee of a company, the company decides the rules on the basis.
The Constitution decides. The Constitution decides. Political interests don't decide.
And All India Service will decide what are going to be the terms of your employment.
Ajay has been an IPS officer. Ajay has been an IPS officer. I invite Ajay.
How did Mr. Tushar Mehta get the copies of the emails? I mean, if you want to file an
one at a time, Meenakshi, please. Meenakshi, please.
Go ahead and file a case against Tushar Mehta.
One at a time.
Who was an additional advocate.
One at a time. One at a time. One at a time. I request you. One at a time.
You can give me 1 minute.
No, Mr. Rosa, I'll come to you after I let Ajay respond to Meenakshi. Ajay, I'm letting Ajay respond to Meenakshi on the point because he's been in the IPS. Ajay.
No, Arnab, my question is, if it's a sense of fair play with the Gujarat government, why isn't there an FIR against the Assistant Advocate General for having emails which he was not supposed to be having? I mean, where is the question of, you're saying that, okay, we are going to file a case against IT, and you seem to be totally ignorant that the SIT emails were found with the Assistant Advocate General. Wasn't that a sense of fair play? And you somewhat, and it's a, a Gobelian kind of a philosophy. You see a propaganda which you keep saying and you ignore it, and you're saying, okay,
Advocate General is
this guy is not responsible for going after we're ignoring him that he's going after the Modi government. We are purely a very, we are going after his disciplinary action. And you continuously hammer him and want to demoralize him and say, listen, we are not doing an act of vendetta.
What is he talking?
It is touching
Does he not understand how the governments work?
1 minute.
Lawyers' opinions are sought.
1 minute. No, it is not. No.
Law officers.
No. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. I want to clarify this matter. I want to clarify this matter. I want to clarify this matter.
Arnab, if you can give me 1 minute.
Sir, I'll give you, but I want to clarify this matter because what are we talking about? We are talking about mails that are sent on a particular date, and the date as per my records is the 14th of September 2009, and on the 14th of September 2009 reports are sent. There are 2 emails. I know what you will say, Mr. Rosa. You will say this has not got to do with the Godhra case. This has got to do with the 2005 Shorabuddin Sheikh Kausharbi fake encounter case. I am going to get Sanjeev Bhatt to give his response today to that. Sanjeev Bhatt is coming on 1 minute,
1 minute
on the show tonight to give his response to that. Go on. Yes, go on, Mr. Rosa.
Why has Sanjeev not annexed the annexure along with that mail?
How do you know what's in the annexure?
No, I have spoken. Mr. Mehta is an advocate.
No, how do you know what's in the annexure?
And status.
No, how do you know? Because Mr. Mehta says I don't have the attachments myself. No, 1 minute. How do you know? How do you know? How do you accept Mr. Mehta? Mr. Mehta has not got access to the mails himself unless Mr. Mehta has indirectly acknowledged that he has received the mails.
Mr. Mehta is
but Mr. Mehta says I have not got the mails.
And repute both. He will never indulge into such activities.
No, but how do you know what's in the attachments?
He will never indulge into such activities without knowing who Mehta is, what is his stature, what is his reputation. Behind his back, allegations are made as to why FIRs are not filed against him. In fact,
purely
annexed
subjective analysis. Okay, Sanjeev Bhatt is with us tonight. Sanjeev, let me ask you directly. 1 minute. Sanjeev is back with us tonight. Sanjeev, please settle this for us.
And one more thing, Arnab. One more thing.
Just, no, 1 minute.
Just 1 minute, Arnab. Yes, one second, Arnab. The long and short of it is that despite his filing an affidavit before the Supreme Court, despite his filing a writ petition before the Supreme Court, if grounds exist to suspend him independently of that,
why did you discover the grounds?
Wrong in government.
So why did you discover the grounds? I am simply asking, why did you suddenly, like Christopher Columbus, who had no idea that the coast was upon him, you discovered the grounds. You discovered the grounds in the last 48 hours. Sanjeev Bhatt is with us tonight.
They are not
Sanjeev Bhatt, answer the question. Answer the question. Answer the question, Sanjeev. How do you know?
Yes, Arnab,
how do you know that the Gujarat government had access to SIT documents that they should not have had access to? Because Yatin Oza is repeatedly saying today that the documents that were with the Gujarat government additional advocate general were legitimate documents that he had legitimately got access to, that they are not the Godhra documents. Sanjeev, your response.
Arnab, I think Mr. Yatin Oza is still just referring to two documents which were sent from the SIT Godhra cases at gmail.com ID. But my dear friend is maybe consciously trying to avoid reference to the 9 reports sent from the special team at gujarat.gov.in to Mr. G.C. Murmu and Mr. Tushar Mehta. These were the 9 secret reports which have also been marked as secret in the concerned mail. These were the reports which were shared with extraneous agencies, including people like Mr. Ram Jethmalani, Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, Mr. Gurumurthy, and other advocates who were representing the accused persons. My dear friend Yatin Oza is trying to avoid that issue. Please ask him. He is as dear a friend as Tushar Mehta.
These copies were submitted before the Supreme Court. All 9 reports were submitted before the Supreme Court, and under the orders of the Supreme Court, copies were given to Mrs. Wahi.
Mr. Oza is correct.
To the state government.
Yes, respond, Sanjeev.
I would agree to what Mr. Oza is.
Let him respond, Mr. Oza.
All 9 reports to Hemanti.
These reports were submitted by the
Wahi
SIT
was given the copies of all 9
to the Honorable Supreme
and that
Court.
Is how it has come
but
to the
as
state
I
government.
understand, the Supreme Court had directed all the agencies that these reports should be kept confidential and should not be shared with anyone. But despite those directions from the Supreme Court,
one minute.
That the law officers of the state, in full knowledge of the Chief Minister's office, shared these reports with the advocates for the accused, and this helped them formulate the defense strategy for the people who were accused of very serious crimes. I think I've lost audio feedback.
Can you hear me, Sanjeev?
I'm not sure whether you can
hear me, Sanjeev?
Arnab,
can you hear me, Sanjeev? 1 minute.
The very bench of the Supreme Court.
Yatin, 1 minute. 1 minute. We lost the audio link there. I want to get Kamini Jaiswal into this. 1 minute. She wanted to make a point there. I'm coming straight to you, yes, ma'am, right now. That on this issue, it's a very grave offense, isn't it? Now, Kamini Jaiswal, Meenakshi Lekhi says it's not anyone who got access to the mails, it's the Additional Advocate General of the state. But the Additional Advocate General of the state is investigating somebody who is under scrutiny themselves, isn't it?
No, but the as an advocate of the accused, I can get access to all the material.
Let her respond.
No, I'm not able to talk here. I'm giving up.
Please continue, Ms. Jaiswal. Yeah.
The Additional Advocate General of the state was permitted to take the documents, but it was a very secret document, and there were express conditions that these documents will not be revealed to anybody. Even the petitioners did not have access to these documents. Then how were these documents circulated?
Absolutely.
Been doing is clear contempt of the Supreme Court. They have been subverting the course of justice, and they have committed contempt of the bench and the Supreme Court, which is dealing with these matters.
Okay. Now I'm coming back to
God. The court takes notice of it.
I'm coming back. Please stay. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir. Let me ask a question to Sanjeev. I'll come back to you because he's the subject matter of all this debate. Sanjeev, I want you to answer this question. I asked you before.
Yeah, please.
Aspersions have been cast on your personal credibility and integrity. You have been accused of accepting material items and gifts from Congress leaders, of accepting quote-unquote packets from them, of keeping in touch with them, and you have been accused on this show while you were away of maintaining contacts that are in clear contravention of service rules for a serving police officer to have. In short, you have been accused of being a political pawn. Sanjeev, I want your response first, and then I'll get the others in.
I have not maintained any contact which is in contravention of the service rules. As I explained to you earlier, my obtaining a BlackBerry on loan for establishing a secure channel of communication with a person who wanted to communicate with me, the person in question being a constitutional authority like the head of opposition of a house. In any democracy, the leader of opposition has a very important role to play. Now, if I have to establish a channel of communication where he wants to communicate with me and sends me a BlackBerry on loan, I don't see anything wrong in that in Gujarat 2000.
But he benefits.
Where no communication is safe.
No, but he benefits.
There is no benefit, Arnab. His communication benefit is me and you, or me and my dear friend Yatin Oza communicating is that benefit. There have been occasions in the past where myself and Mr. Oza have been required to communicate in sheer confidence. Even he is aware of that. We have had to establish communication channels.
And I haven't divulged
very secure channels.
Anything out of that.
Right, exactly. So see, these are occasions where we have to communicate with people in strict confidence.
No, but here you
have to honor.
One second. I have one more question for Sanjeev. Sanjeev, I have one more question for you. Sanjeev, please consider this very calmly and very coldly. You see, you are not unaware that this is not happening in a political vacuum. This is happening in a very political environment, where your subject is a politician with national ambitions, whose ambitions get stymied if this particular case goes a certain way. And therefore, if you are communicating on secure lines, seeking BlackBerries from his political rivals, you can be accused of knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, wittingly or unwittingly, becoming a political pawn in a larger game. I'm sure you are fully aware of the environment in which you are operating.
Arnab, everything I've done very consciously. I'm fully conscious about my actions. I own up each and every one of my actions, including the act of accepting a BlackBerry on loan for communicating with Shakti Singh Gohil, and I see nothing wrong in it. And given the issue, given the scale of the issue, given the questions involved in the Gujarat carnage of 2002 and the ongoing cover-up operations, it is but natural for political parties to get involved.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Are we trying to say that this is an issue where
I'm taking responses? No, I'm taking responses. I'm taking responses. Sanjeev, because I'm running short of time, I want to give equal opportunity.
He's an honorable member and leader of opposition. What about his numerous conversations with Arjun Bhai Motwadia, numerous conversations with other Congress leaders, and also
there is no conversation with Arjun Motwadia.
Communication between so-called activists saying how to put pressure on Supreme Court judges, how to put pressure on amicus. Arnab, I will send you entire set tomorrow. You study yourself and you will find that communications are to the effect how media is to be pressurized to bring pressure on the judges of the Supreme Court, how media is to be managed, and how the pressure is to be brought on amicus curiae appointed by the Supreme Court. This is not
Arnab, just a question. Arnab,
okay. That was the pious purpose. Arnab, I will send you entire communication.
Sure. No, one second.
On your own.
I look forward to that. I look forward to your communication. Yes.
I mean, how is it that they seem to know so much about
you judge yourself, Arnab.
Is it legal for any government to go tapping any officer's phone? I mean, under what basis? Who approved it? I mean, if he's saying all that, isn't it an illegal act of the government to tap somebody's phone and say that this is his transcript? But why were you tapping his phone?
No, it's
what was the basis of tapping his phone?
It's not phone tapping.
Did you have a proper legal? There is no the government of India. If you're saying the transcript is there, the Supreme Court has come with very strict guidelines.
It has come.
So how did you tap his phone? On what basis? And somebody should be answerable on that.
I have not tapped. I have nobody to tap his phone. Nobody has tapped his phone, but this has appeared in a vernacular.
No, then how do you know the transcription? How do you know the conversation?
That vernacular.
No. I mean, it's ridiculous, Arnab, that how do you know the conversation? How are you quoting those conversations? In fact, it's another issue which you should go after the Gujarat government, that on what basis are you tapping the phone? Why are you observing somebody's phone?
Nobody is tapping the phone.
And how can you do it? And who gave the authority for somebody to tap?
Nobody is tapping.
I mean, that amounts to gross violation of the law, and there is a clear-cut Supreme Court direction on tapping the phone. No, I'm amazed that you have all the transcripts.
Newspapers, vernacular newspapers have come out openly with this all transcripts. I have no knowledge of my own. I go by vernacular newspapers. I go by the reports of vernacular newspapers.
No.
Okay, come on. Then vernacular newspaper is not legitimate. You cannot quote a newspaper and then bring it on a program and say that that is data. Then if it is quoted on the paper, you cannot say that was a conversation.
That is between Sanjeev and the newspaper.
I think it's ridiculous to bring vernacular papers and then print some newspaper and say that those are evidences.
Right.
So either you have the evidence or you don't have the evidence.
So, here's a question.
Here's a point I go. That this is a conversation. I depend on vernacular paper, and now I'm going to hold him guilty.
Okay, well, here's one point.
I'm
Meenakshi. One quick point. You want to make a point to Sanjeev? You can go ahead directly because I have 2 minutes to wrap up. Go ahead, Meenakshi.
My point is very simple. I'm not going by any reports. I'm going by the admissions made by Mr. Bhatt himself on your show, where he says he's ready with the consequences because he owes up all the acts that he has done. And as you said, nothing is in political vacuum. Everything is politically maneuvered and manipulated. So in that case, he has to be ready with the consequences, and I think he was prepared when he was asking for packages and BlackBerry. So he's received certain packages and is keeping that up. And plus, the very delay in his coming up with the story in 2009 is itself incredible.
But that is a late realization. I give Sanjeev the last word. Sanjeev, you find yourself tonight.
It's not creditworthy.
Sanjeev, you find yourself tonight in the middle of what could potentially be one of the biggest political rows of 2011. May I ask you, are you prepared for the consequences of not just coming out, filing affidavits, but speaking out tonight?
I don't know. I have said things on oath before the highest forum of this country, before the apex court. Not now. I did it in April 2011. I've done it again. And I know the consequences of lying on oath. I know the consequences of committing perjury. And I also know the consequences of misleading a nation. All of us know who is misleading whom, Arnab. So instead of getting into semantics of packages and whatnot, I can describe the contents of each and every mail. Maybe what has been
let him complete.
What has been brought out may be a part of the mail, so I am prepared to come out with the entire mail transaction. I am a very open person. If Mr. Rosa or Ms. Lekhi wants the interstitial mails, I am prepared to give them.
We will request you to do that.
Absolutely.
I request you. I request you. I request you tonight, and only for tonight. I'm seizing the debate only for want of time. I request you all, in fairness, to come back on the news hour, follow the debate, because our viewers need to know all sides of the story in this ghastly matter. Sanjeev, Meenakshi, Mr. Rosa, Ajay, and of course Ms. Jaiswal, thank you very much. This is a matter of national concern and we shall follow it up.